Baby sweet, baby's vicious.
Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature after we were assaulted by the brutal honesty of our first feature, Criminally Insane, aka Crazy Fat Ethel. I have so many questions about this one, and thankfully Sam Panico is here to help us unravel this mystery of a movie. Hi, Sam.
I missed the movie, though.
Have you seen it before? You've seen it.
No, I haven't seen it before.
You've never seen Criminally Insane?
No, I've seen all his other movies, though.
Oh, no.
I've seen the ones that followed after that use all the footage from Criminally Insane. But I've not
Cemetery Sisters and
yeah. I have heard the Slayer song Criminally Insane.
Have you seen his oblique lesbian porn from the 70s, like Pleasures of a Woman and Roxana?
No, but I would love to.
They're
Roxana.
They're all shot in that same. He lived in Pacifica in this like split level mid-century looking home where he shot Crazy Fat Ethel 2 and Death Nurse, and he was shooting his lesbian porn there in the 70s too. So it's actually listed on the Pacifica on the Chamber of Commerce website. They say Nick Millard directed pornographic films here.
No, I was wrestling. I was not watching Gunsmoke. In case anyone wonders where I was at. So, about the same thing, really, when you think about it.
What's the Gunsmoke reference?
Someone just come decide Sam was watching Gunsmoke.
Because in the movie, when Buck Flower comes to question her for the first time and then he leaves, and the brother or the sister and the boyfriend are like, "What's that all about?" And Ethel goes, "I'm going to go watch Gunsmoke," and like storms off to the living room.
Yeah. I was hitting people with chairs. That's what I do best. So.
Did you hit people with chairs tonight?
I got disqualified for throwing chairs, and then I threw somebody into a whole row of about 200 chairs and chased fans with chairs.
Well, I mean, what does it mean to be disqualified? I mean, isn't it expected that this will happen at shows?
Yeah, but like the referee threw the match out because I punched the ref to start, and then I started throwing chairs. I just got a little out of control. I feel good now. I feel like a weight is lifted from my soul, as Obi-Wan would say. Or no, Cybok would say, "Hey, Wally."
Wally! Big kitty.
But I do love I'm gonna check out Crazy Fat Ethel, or the real title that you guys showed her. But I have the drink for her I will make in the third segment, so I'll do it backwards. And I'll show the drink for the third segment.
We already made it.
You already made it?
We made it on the first segment. Yes, we did, and it was delicious.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you liked it. Good.
You're seeing the effects of it right now in the second segment.
Everybody gets to feel the effects at the drive-in of how strong they really are, too, in 3D.
So somebody in the chat was asking how much that house would be worth now. So that house, the address of that house is 1924 Pine Street in San Francisco. And if you Google 1924 Pine Street in San Francisco, you'll find real estate sites that show the house now as it has been remodeled. And I think it was $2 million.
Wow.
It's gotta be. I mean, that place was fabulous.
I wonder if people would show up like maniacs like us, be like, is this the house the Crazy Bad Ethel was in?
Well, they wrote about it on Curbed, and whoever wrote the article for Curbed says, hopefully the people living in this Pacific Heights Victorian aren't aware of its sordid past. And then they went on to say that calling a movie Criminally Insane was insensitive. And I was like, shut up.
That's, I've noticed that sometimes, like when I write about a movie, someone will say, you shouldn't say that somebody went insane in the movie because that's wrong. And I'm like, but they did. They were the killer. They did wrong things and they went crazy. Like
if it's in the script, you can say it.
Yeah. How else am I supposed to say it that they went crazy?
Well, because it's ableist to discredit somebody for having mental illness instead of celebrating them and giving them a promotion.
A lot of people, but we're worried about it. Oh, Wally has a friend. Hey,
there we go.
Hi, Wally. Bill, where's your cat?
Big kitty competition.
Yeah, that is Bill's cat right there.
Yeah, I know.
I only have a dog right now, and she's only like here temporarily, maybe.
She came to the drive-in, though. Yeah, people got to see Bibby.
She did. She was the star of the drive-in, at least in her own mind.
I gotta tell you guys, Andy has been out of control the last couple of days of
Why?
just being Andy. Just right now, he's standing on a plate that had pizza on it. He's getting into stuff. He likes to get into the refrigerator. He didn't watch all those PSAs in the 70s about getting locked in refrigerators.
Yeah, it can happen.
It can happen, you know. That and quicksand, those are my two biggest worries in the late 70s. And playing in junkyards could lead to either of these things.
They don't do that. The refrigerators don't have that same handle. They used to have that door handle where you could only unclick them from the outside.
Yeah.
So I think by the time we came around, refrigerators had been made safe.
Once Indiana Jones used them to stop nuclear bombs, they got a lot safer.
Right.
Yeah,
Remember in the-
yeah, the video wall, Becca said, so you could just use the video screen, the one that has like the TV screen on it, the Samsung one. Be like, hey, I'm inside the fridge. Please help me. You can send a tweet from inside the fridge.
Wasn't there a killer refrigerator in one of Stephen King's novels?
Maximum Overdrive, maybe.
No, I think it was It.
Uh,
Or it was either It or something in Night Shift. There was, and it was an oblique reference to it. It wasn't the star of the story. It was just like, oh yeah, there was this refrigerator that they kept finding dead animals inside,
wow.
and then eventually there was a child in there dead. This
My
refrigerator.
Stephen King electronic villain, the Mangler. Yeah.
It might have been the Mangler, actually. Yeah. Now that
My
you mentioned
favorite is in
that,
Maximum Overdrive. There's that pop machine that shoots people in the nuts, and it's like,
that's a classic moment. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, what a wonderful thing. It should have just played it like a America's Funniest AFV logo comes up in the corner during that scene.
That moment was brought to you by cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. I like that the trailer for that movie is just him on cocaine going, you want to get really scared? Like, no, I don't want to get really scared. You're freaking me the fuck out. And then
That was as scared as I got with that movie.
well, the only person that was really scared was the cinematographer because he took his eye out in one of the lawnmower scenes. He said, we shouldn't have the camera this close, and a piece of wood came off the lawnmower and went into his eye, and still ended up working, but he sued for a couple million.
I'm sure he deserved it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Ghost in the Machine with Karen Allen?
No, Becca has, though.
I think it was like a similar thing, but it was like, where like the ATM it started off slow, where like the ATM was telling people to fuck off and stuff, and then became like a wholesale revenge of the machine type thing.
Yeah.
I think I saw that now that you mention it.
I think we're due for another one of those movies where just the machines go nuts, like Pulse, and these are all Stephen King stories. I keep bringing up.
Well, it would actually make a lot of sense in today's world because we're all so victimized by technology.
Yeah.
Like when computers and social media and stuff first started, whenever we would have a problem with it, like a technological gaffe or whatever, like we would be able to call IT and get it fixed. And now IT people are like, I don't know what that error message is. We didn't program that error message into our thing. What's it telling you that for? It's like people are victimized by technology and computers constantly now.
Can we talk about the musically insane soundtrack for this movie?
It was
It sounded like a sitcom. There was that one scene where she was taking the bodies outside and putting them in her trunk and driving off with them, and the music sounded like it was a scene from, I don't know, like a medical drama.
Dr.
It had like Quincy music, but it was only like a small band. It was like a 3-piece band. It was like an oboe, a cello, and like a flute or some sort of percussion.
Maybe.
Someone brought up the recorder last week. There was a parade, or like kind of like an event in the burial ground next to my house that I brought up before. I found out that the burial ground next to my house, the Native American burial ground, is the second largest east of the Mississippi, which is kind of frightening.
You've got to have all kind of ghosts in your house.
So many ghosts. And there were kids playing flutophones marching up and down the streets. And I'm like, these ghosts don't want to hear flutophones. Like, if anything is going to bring these skeletons out of the grave, it's a bunch of fourth graders with flutophones. They're gonna bring them out. They were all dressed like a fife band, like a Revolutionary War fife band. They're like, there'll be food. There was like one table with cornbread. That was the only food. And I was like, Becca's like, should we go down? Because I was taking my walk down there. I'm like, we should not go down. We should avoid this event.
One thing about Criminally Insane that really just sort of stood out to me was that scene where Ethel's dreaming, and she dreams of herself wearing this red gown, and she's running around, doing crazy things. But that's kind of touching to me, because the rest of the movie, her clothes are very like, she wears a nightgown through most of the scenes, and then she looks like a Catholic schoolgirl, sort of, in like these like really sort of unflattering, to say the least, clothes, which I'm sure was a choice.
Yeah.
But then there's this scene of her running around in this brilliant red dress, and you can tell that she feels beautiful in this dream that she's having. And I was like, that's the life she wants to have.
Yeah.
But instead she's stuck with, she received shock treatments, and there's that whole stigma of being, having a mental illness. It's like, oh, now you're in an institution and we're like zapping you with things. As if it's no wonder people didn't want to talk about stuff like that.
Jeff Jordan came Mindy Kahn. I just looked up and saw Mindy Kahn's name.
Mindy Kahn could be the new Ethel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She could.
Yeah.
I could see it now that I can't unsee it now. Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
The live remake of Facts of Life they did a couple months ago. They did one of those live specials. Yeah.
And Mindy Cohn's face, she got a lot of plastic surgery, which I find bizarre, because since when is Mindy Cohn like this insecure ingenue who has to hold on to her looks? I mean, she's always been the plain one. Why is Blair not plastic surgeryed out, but Mindy Cohn is?
Blair did not age. That's why, like, something happened where she's like, wow, like she.
Know why? Because Blair, the actress, she just doesn't like. Nothing goes too deep with her. Mm-mm. Like stuff that people normally internalize that makes them age or whatever. With Blair, she's just like, what?
Yeah. Jesus kept her looking young.
Yeah. It's the same way as like Candace Cameron Bure was one of our social media influencers for Starkist when I worked on Starkist. And right when she started, she did one of those tweets like, I think women should let their husbands do whatever they want to them. And I was like, oh boy, I can't wait. Yeah. And it didn't get any better.
I did watch Fuller House though, like the first season. I did those rebooted shows. They're not enough to keep me watching the whole time, I don't think, but there is something kind of comforting about the idea of watching people now who you were watching when you were a teenager and seeing them do it's like the same reason why you can watch Days of Our Lives 20 years later.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, these are like, it gives the illusion of permanence to be able to watch like what Roseanne's family is doing now and stuff.
Dustin, no one has forgotten Delta Burke in this house. Designing women runs at least 4 or 5 hours a week in this house. It's on all the time. And Becca knows every line and yells them at the screen. That's her Golden Girls. The other thing is, did you know there's a Married with Children animated show coming out with all the original cast members doing voices?
Really? Christine Applegate and everything?
I don't know Christine Applegate, but I think everybody else is good for it, right?
So on the Connors, the spinoff of Roseanne or whatever, Pamela Segal, I think that's her name, is now the wife. So it's kind of funny that Married with Children and Roseanne were like two of the kind of white trashy sitcoms of the 80s, and the matriarch from one took over from the disgraced matriarch of the other. It's actually like living in a small town.
What's weird is I just watched Punchline, and it's kind of sort of the Roseanne Barr story, and John Goodman plays her husband in it. Before, like 6 months before he played Roseanne's husband on the show.
Are you talking about that movie with Sally Field and Tom Hanks?
Yeah, and also Sally Field and Tom Hanks make out at it, and then soon it would be mother and son.
Katie Segal, that's right. Pamela Segal is one of those twins from Grease 2.
Yes,
who was on the show with that hot piece of snatch dad who played Dutch on Soap.
I love that term.
I was waiting for someone said last week, the last time you're on, why has Mike not used his catchphrase? That is your catchphrase.
It is. It's because it's very paradoxical and unlikely. Although I had somebody try to tell me that I shouldn't use that because it's degrading to women. And I was like, how is it degrading to women to reduce men to sex objects? And they said, well, because you're using slang that was used for years to degrade women. And I'm like, well, it's not anymore. It's not in this house anyway.
Language
that's a lot to get your head around. I'd like to see your TED talk on that, on why that.
I'm reappropriating hot piece of snatch and using it against men. I also like to use the term butterface to describe a guy, and I had some girls saying like butterface has traditionally been used to degrade women, and I'm like, well, I'm using it to degrade men. It's never going to go away now. It's like
that's okay, right?
It's like COVID. It's like you can't get rid of it. You might as well just use it.
COVID is the best excuse now when you've made plans and you don't want to do them. And you're like, yeah, I don't have a test, but I don't feel well, so I'm just going to stay home and get a test tomorrow. And everybody's like, yes, good, thank you for being. But really, you just didn't want to go out.
Yeah. One of my managers at work is trying to get everyone to come back to the office because he wants to have like his office clique, and he's trying to like put together an office clique, and we're all just like, nope, scared of COVID, can't do it.
We have an in-person meeting Wednesday, and the last one we had, they didn't tell us to bring our computers. And I said, why are we bringing our computers in for an in-person meeting? Like, so everybody can be on their computer and look at the screen. And I said, look, next time I'll be doing that at home. I'm not going to drive a half an hour in to stare at a computer. And of course, nobody was muting their screen. So it was 19 computers all echoing endlessly in a gigantic room that we were sitting far away from each other. And I was like, this is the worst ever.
Yeah. You know,
there are fewer men more perfect than Ed O'Neill.
Youngstown's own Ed O'Neill. He's a big
Ed O'Neill. There's that one. He was in that TV show. I think it's called Weird City.
I remember the Popeye Doyle French Connection TV movie that they did. Ed O'Neill played Popeye Doyle.
I feel like it wasn't called Weird City. I'm just having a third segment moment on the second segment. But he has a relationship with a much younger man in that series, and it's like my dream come true about Ed O'Neill. Mike had an interesting comment. While we weren't on camera, unfortunately, he asked me if I would be into Ethel if I was into women. I admitted that, yeah, I would probably be into her.
Well, I mean, it's not that Ethel isn't attractive. It's just that the character is like so dowdy.
Yeah.
I mean, they played that up a little bit, shall we say.
Yeah.
That whole look she had going on about herself.
And also it's like a lot of what Ethel brings a lot of it on herself. Like nobody's telling her that she can't eat Nilla wafers and ice cream all the time. They're just telling her that she needs to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like nobody's saying like you can't eat food. They're just saying, why don't you get a job? And she's like, no.
She didn't accept responsibility for anything, and that was the beginning of her problems. Let's analyze Ethel.
Ethel would have been a hooker like her sister if she would have been cuter.
Mm.
They definitely had divergent paths.
Yeah.
I would like to analyze one thing is that every other brand has made a million flavors, right? There's like 19 flavors of Triscuits now. There's one flavor of vanilla wafers, and it's never changed. There's not like no limited time. Like there's 9,000 Oreos right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like I always put Nilla wafers in the same category as like chicken in a biscuit crackers.
Love it.
Where it's like you can't. It's like tasting of seasoning of snack foods has gotten so obnoxiously sophisticated with the many different combinations that you can do. But like nothing beats like dried chicken powder on a cracker.
I was telling Becca the other day, like when Doritos like ruled my childhood. I was like Doritos, like there's no taste better than orange regular Doritos. And then Cool Ranch came out, and I was like, motherfuckers, they did it again. I just remember when they came out in the 80s, and I was like, well, in case you're wondering why I'm so fat, that's why.
The thing that confuses me is those kettle chips. I'm like, there's literally 32 different flavors at the store where, I mean, how am I supposed to choose?
Don't go to the Japanese store because then you get into this wild, like, crab and, like, salmon and, like, just flavor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless.
Fried chicken. It's amazing. It's wild. But Noah Wafers is just Noah Wafers. Like,
and she wasn't kidding around. She had a whole fucking box of Nilla wafers that she dumped out onto a tray with a carton of milk.
Yeah.
And that was her snack.
And she didn't even bring a glass or anything. It was just the milk carton because it's like, well, yeah.
She's like, it's going to be the whole carton.
Thing of like a big square of the milk carton and just dunk those in there.
She wasn't fooling around.
No.
It's funny. The director said actually in the commentary on the DVD that the actual actress was a really big woman, but she wasn't necessarily like that gluttonous or that prone to eating all the time. And so she actually hated doing those scenes where she'd have to sit and eat like a half gallon of ice cream because she didn't really like to stuff herself that much.
Let's talk about this for a minute. The remake of Crazy Fat Ethel. Has anyone seen that? Because I have not, I admit.
It was made by that guy. I forget his name, but he had done... He's kind of like this like regional sort of like streaming John Waters type guy who had made some movie called Trashazoids or something that got a lot of
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he did a remake of Crazy Fat Ethel, but I have never seen it.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew it existed, but I thought, why do I need to see a remake of Crazy Fat Ethel? But there was a sequel too, and I haven't seen that either.
Though the sequel is so basically in the late 80s, Nick Millard, Criminally Insane, was getting a lot of notice. And so it's like some burgeoning VHS company gave him like $300 and said, shoot a sequel. And he basically kept $299 for himself and spent $1 making a sequel to Criminally Insane, shooting it with a camcorder. It was terrible.
I've seen both. They actually split it across 2 movies too, correct?
He made Death
Nurse and Death Nurse 2.
Death Nurse 2, and then Crazy Fat Ethel 2, which retroactively renames Criminally Insane to Crazy Fat Ethel, which is
And Death Nurse 1 has 35 minutes of Criminally Insane in it.
Yeah, and exactly, and like the character, they're terrible, and they make Criminally Insane look so good.
It's like his boogeyman.
She did put a bunch.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's like the Boogeyman 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although Boogeyman 2, actually, when you take out all those flashbacks, I love Boogeyman 2. I think it's so. I love like LA based movies where like Outliers or like real like B movie. It kind of reminds me of Boarding House or something with like a bunch of like Z grade Angelinos. Like, let's make a movie and talk shit about Brian De Palma and pretend that he's overrated. So it's like, yeah, Brian De Palma's overrated. Come on.
It's so fucking weird, that whole Boogeyman. I mean, there isn't much that actually is Boogeyman 2 because most of the runtime is made up of stock footage from the first film. But the stuff that is Boogeyman 2 is endlessly fascinating to me because I'm like, well, these people are all like, they're all these hangers on, you know, that are sort of trying to claw their way to a part in this film. And I'm like, this is probably more accurate than I even realized because I don't know.
Really wild description of why De Palma became known as like the master of horror for a bit from Tarantino, because he was like, there was no one post Hitchcock ready to take that title. Like maybe Argento was for like a very brief moment, but then once De Palma did Carrie, it was like, okay, and Sister, you know what I mean? He like, it was like like there was this vacuum, and for some time he filled it when that was this master suspense thing was important. Because Hitchcock, I mean, Hitchcock was a one-word name that everybody knew. You know what I mean? Like even people that didn't watch horror movies said it was a really interesting. He was on the.
It was a name Brian De Palma knew.
Yeah, real well.
Well, somebody like Brian De Palma would have really pursued being known as the new Hitchcock, where I feel like somebody like Argento would always be irritated that people called him Hitchcock because he was like, no, I want you to call me. I am Argento.
Argento.
Yeah, I am Argento. It's like I think Dario Argento's probably too narcissistic to ever want to be known as the new Hitchcock, whereas like Brian De Palma was just like an American film school dude who's just like, please call me the new Hitchcock, please.
I love the idea there, like of the difference between Fulci and Argento is like Argento's trying to be an artist but ended up a filmmaker, and sometimes Fulci was trying to be a filmmaker and accidentally became an artist a couple of times. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was just trying to make money, but he walked his way in versus vice versa. That's
and Fulci also, you can tell that like a lot of times Fulci was just really, really, really striving to create a functionally entertaining movie, and it just ended up being arty and weird.
But too, like someone described to me one time, it's like a lot of his movies played provincially, where they played in open cinemas and cafes where you had to be weird to continually grab the viewer. And if you didn't keep like doing these shocks every couple minutes, people would just start drinking and talking, not pay attention to the movie. So I think when you like watch them through that audience eyes, you're like, oh, like, well, that's why like The Beyond makes no fucking sense, and in a great way. But like there's, it's almost like Zombies like that, like once they get to the island, it's like boom, boom, boom. It just like keeps hitting you with like it's like a roller coaster of like the moments hitting you and not letting up.
Yeah,
I have a confession to make, Sam.
Yeah.
In the first segment, somebody asked what movie I hated that everybody else loved, and I said Night of the Zombies.
Jess Franco?
Yeah,
Or
Bruno Mattei.
Look, I completely can understand why people hate that movie, and it's the same reasons I love it. Because it's a movie that does not give two fucks about its characters or its audience. and that's pretty much everything Mattei made, and that's why I like him. I feel like I must protect him and hug him.
Why? Stop sticking. That dude is a loser. Stop going to bat for him.
No, I love it.
Stop trying to make Bruno Mattei happen.
I'm trying to make it happen. It's already happened, dude.
It's over. It's been and gone.
He's not my favorite of Italian filmmakers, but I respect him and I love the stuff that he did. He's vastly entertaining. Rats: The Night of Terror is an entertaining movie.
I will agree, though, that if he would have directed that weird futuristic movie that Uncle Spooky picked, I forget what it's called.
Damnation Alley.
If Bruno Mattei had made Damnation Alley, it would have been a better movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It would have made more sense, too. Because you'd be like, oh, it's a Bruno Mattei movie. Then it would have been awesome.
Well, and also I could have forgiven, I could not forgive the special effects in Damnation Alley because I was like, wasn't this a studio movie? Like, wasn't this something that had a lot of press behind it? There's no excuse for this awful looking optical, crap. Oh,
it looks like the kind of videos that would show up in fucking Billy Idol videos later. We're like, let's just color the sky and have it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like
yes, look it up.
TV video looks like. And I think the other thing too is like if you saw that Bruno Mattei did it, you'd set expectations like these effects aren't going to be good, and the movie's probably not going to make sense, but that versus like, hey, wow, George Papard's in this movie and Jan Michael Vincent, and there was money behind this, and Uncle Spooky wanted us to see.
Who directed After Death, Zombie 4? Is that Claudio Fragazzo or whatever his name is?
He wrote it. I think Mattei directed it.
Okay. I loved Zombie 4 when I was a kid. I loved that part where the woman comes out of the ground and starts attacking everyone in the cave. It's very Demons.
Jeff Stryker never got to use his best feature in that film.
No, it is. Fragasso did direct that, yeah.
And I love how they got Jeff Stryker. They were trying to do kind of like how Cronenberg had gotten Marilyn Chambers for Rabid. They're like, we could get a porno star and make it. He will be a star, right? It's a star.
It's not the first time that the Italian film industry used what's his name from Cannibal Holocaust was an adult star too.
Oh yeah. They were into getting because I guess to a certain extent. I mean, I guess porn actors were stars, so you could say I have a name or something.
Yeah, like Ilona Stahl in a couple movies. There's the other girl who was in the same political party as her. She showed up in not Rats, but the other one we showed, Escape the Bronx.
Shocking Dark.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but
which was also awesome.
Yeah, I that's the thing is the difference to me and this is why I love Bruno Mattei and any Italian cinema is there's less of a formula of and I think that's why I don't like Damnation Alley. Not to keep piling on Damnation Alley, which we seem to do over a few shows, but it's a very Hollywood movie and things proceed versus a movie like Rats. You're like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? It continually they found a whole room full of food and they decided to eat it. And there's a character named Video because he can do video. Okay, and just the whole thing's wild. A couple gets in a sleeping bag full of rats and dies. Yes.
And also how the rats are never really threatening people. The people are always going, hey, look, here's a rat. Rats never attack people. They always just find rats minding their own business and freak out about it.
There are no actual rat attacks that are overwhelmingly frightening in that film.
Except for the end.
The end is the greatest ending because I said in my review, it's if O. Henry rode into Currents at Owl Creek Bridge and the guy shit his pants instead of getting hung. Because it makes no sense. It's what? It's an ending. Yes, it's an ending, but it's it's not a. Even M. Night Shyamalan would be like, that twist felt a little wacky, guys.
Joretta lives in Portland, or at least she owns a condo in Portland. And she's from Portland originally, and I'm like, that's been one of my things. Is like, I will know it's time for me to move from Portland when I meet Joretta. I'll be like, okay, we've come full circle.
Where would be the best place to meet her? Like
Starbucks.
Yeah, or like, you know what's funny is I used to have a coworker who lived in the condo development where Joretta lives, and like we used to go and like, you know, just get drunk at his house after like working shifts at this restaurant. And I'm like, that would have been fun to like run into her at like at the garbage or something. Like we're taking out recycling.
Elevator, and it was just you and her, and she turns and she has a big cut on her face.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep. She's like, oh shit.
What the hell happened to Rosemary?
She's freaking out in the ladies' room. She'll be right back.
I fucking love that movie. Like that movie's perfect. And it's
I know.
It's just
that's another one that we and also in the first segment we were talking about movies that we hated when we first saw them. Like I admitted that I hated Zombie the first time I saw it. I really was not into
what was
it.
The first segment make the movie Sam loves and why they.
It was. You would have been. It's such bad behavior.
No.
You're gonna hate
mad
it.
I wasn't there, and you're like, let's talk about how shitty Vincent Vaughn is.
But anyway, we were talking about it. What were we even talking about? I don't know.
I said I had hated City of the Living Dead or City of the Walking Dead, the Umberto Lenzi movie, because I thought I wanted to watch an American zombie movie, and I was like, oh, this crusty European dubbed cheap weird shit. The license plates look different. The cameras in the studio look foreign. This looks foreign. And now
now we love that stuff.
Yeah. But
I was looking at the first time I saw Raiders. What's the Lenzi one?
That Raiders of the Shocking Dead or whatever it's
called. I saw it as a kid. It had the Raiders of the Lost Ark font on the cover. I rented that and Ghostbusters are the first two movies I rented at a video store. And I remember my family hated it. Like, this movie is so stupid. And today I'd watch it and be like, this movie is great. This movie is, it's nonsensical. What are the things I look for? Complete nonsense. Badly colored blood, like the brightest blood, the better. Also, like in any Italian movie where they try to appear American by discussing American things is my all-time favorite thing. Like in Ghost House, where they talk about, I brought it before, where they're like, is Simon Le Bon still popular in your town? Nobody talks like this. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like in the movie Demons, like the whole sequence with the punks in the car, like was clearly just like. It was like somebody, like they had gone to go watch Return of the Living Dead while they were making the movie. And they're like, oh, we have to put irreverent punks in the movie. And it's like, but instead of like America, it was just these like stupid punks. Like there was no rhyme or reason for them being.
It was like, they had Nina jamming out on the car radio.
Yeah. I love that movie too. Cause like in any other movie, you're like, the highlight of the movie would be someone's going to take this motorcycle and samurai sword and kill zombies, right? And they're like, no, we're going to drop a fucking helicopter on it. And then, spoiler warning, Bob's going to come save everybody with a machine gun and a Jeep.
Oh, and that was Bob.
Yeah, and then we're going to kill the main character over the fucking credits.
Yeah.
What? Also, the new Evil Dead movie is just Demons 2, and no one can convince me otherwise. The Evil Dead High Rise.
I hope it's Demons 2. I'm hoping for something like that.
Yeah.
I think I'll go see it.
Yeah, I'll go see it.
I didn't like Demons 2 when I first saw it, I remember, and I ended up like loving it now. But at the time, I just thought it was. I don't know. It feels like not as well directed as Demons, or a little more rushed, or a little more cynical. Or there's something about Demons 2 that I thought seemed kind of lame when I saw it on video when it first came out. But now I look at it and I love like the main girl, like that girl from Opera, the crazy like silent film actress trapped in the body of an 80s ingenue. She's like, there's a necklace. I'm sure of it. I have to find it. And then like she turns into a demon. She was perfect.
It's funny because I always feel bad when I say how much I dislike Lamberto's movies because they're not always that good. But I think with Demons, he ended up having enough people around him where it was like, yeah, he did just fine. Plus, the best director in the movie isn't even directing it. He's the ticket taker.
Oh, yeah. He was actually like the one who had talent and the breakout But then what happened with him? Like his kid had cerebral palsy or
Yeah,
something?
he took like 11 years off of directing. He did some
Yeah.
TV, and then he did some assistant directing for like Baron Munchausen and a few other movies too.
Because I mean, Cemetery Man got into cineplexes where demons never had a shot.
And The Church was going to be
Yeah.
a Demons movie, and he's like, no, this is better than a Demons movie.
Yeah,
He's like,
and
these are pizza horror movies. Like, I want to make art.
yeah. See, I didn't like The Church when it came out because The Church was too sophisticated and like tastefully done, and I
But like
wanted to see
pulled back
demons.
from being a Demons sequel because I expected it to be Demons because it, the whole setup was the same, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're not fanged and drooling, and their faces are probably.
Was Secta, which has one of my favorite dumb Italian things in a movie where the main character in it has a rabbit that learns how to turn on the TV. And occasionally throughout the movie, he like will just turn the channels. And she's like,
It can happen.
Huh?
It could be a real thing, Sam. You sound really cynical.
Oh my God. I love that movie. Yeah, Cubby could do it. You're right. But
We need to talk about our second feature of the evening.
But Cemetery Man's awesome, and we should probably show it someday because it's real good. And it's one of those movies that's like, it played in the U.S. and then like I don't know if it's because Swaby had to take that time off, but like, and then people don't really remember it. I mean, it's got Rupert Everett in it, which is wild.
Well, it was when I remember. I remember it came out right before. Remember when Rupert Everett sort of got famous again, or whatever, when he was in that comedy with what's her face from Pretty Woman.
My best friend's wedding.
Yes. Why am I forgetting her name? I totally. Anyway.
Julia Roberts. Becca's here.
Yeah. Julia Roberts. He was in that Julia Roberts movie, and he was like, there was Oscar talk and stuff. And then I remember.
I love that you forgot her name. I wish everybody would.
And then Premiere Magazine is like, well, if you love Rupert Everett from My Best Friend's Wedding, you should check out this great underrated art horror film he did a couple years ago called Cemetery Man. And I love that Cemetery Man got press because he got famous in a Julia Roberts movie.
Yeah, Dustin Lamberto did direct The Ogre, which was going to be Demons 3. And the joke is, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Suave said nobody wanted to make Demons 3 except for Lamberto. He really wanted to make another Demons. There's a ton of don't make me go into all the Demons sequels and
well, there's Black Demons, there's the Ogre, and isn't there just like these isn't Killing Birds? No, that's a zombie movie.
Yeah, there's Demons 6 in Profundus, which is also a remake of Suspiria.
That's the one with that what's his face made, right?
Yeah, Luigi Cosi did it.
Yeah. Daria Nicolodi's in it.
What'd you say, Bill?
What's his face?
Luigi Cosi.
Luigi Cosi. Oh, Luigi Cosi. I made my own Godzilla movie.
Yeah, Luigi Cosi Luigi Cosi makes Lamberto Bava and Bruno Mattei look like Michele Soave.
I love Luigi Cosi too because his Hercules movies are bonkers ridiculousness and they're all crazy. And also he shot the other one, the second one was just supposed to be reshoots, and Canon was like, we really want a sequel out of this. So nobody tell Lou Ferrigno that this is a sequel. Tell him it's just reshoots. They had to hide it from Lou Ferrigno and his wife that they were shooting another one.
Did Luigi Cosi make Contamination?
Yeah.
We did that on the show.
Yeah, I know, because for 3 days afterwards, all I could hear in my head was meow, meow.
Sam, how do you like my shirt?
I love Boobs Disco the most. Where did you get that?
I made it.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It's actually a screenshot that I took from the Demon, and I used Sticker Mule, stickermule.com. Here's another plug that nobody asked for, but they sent me a promotion. They were like, I made one other shirt from them. I made that one-off Drive-In Asylum shirt with the red face on it, and it's okay, but it still feels like an iron-on.
Yeah,
that one does. But this one actually feels almost like it could have been screen printed. It's very soft. It does not feel like an iron-on at all. And it was. They sent me a promotion. It was only $9.
Wow.
To make this, and I was like, well, they only charged $19, I think, which is pretty reasonable. If you want a one-off shirt, it's okay.
Do you use fabric softener when you wash stuff?
Sometimes I do, but I am conscious of when I'm using it. Like I'll wash things without it for that reason.
Because I was wondering if it would help or hurt. Because I mean, the thing is, it's like
It doesn't help.
Oh, it doesn't help.
No, I mean it doesn't change that. Nothing changes it. That
Okay.
iron-on feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about.
It's okay. I mean, you can use it. It's just it's better not to use it on things where there's an iron-on. You have to turn it inside out. And
I hand wash it whenever I have ones that are like that, and then just
air
dry them. Yeah. No
You're
wire,
dedicated. Oh, I air dry them. I never put it in the dryer.
but no wire hangers.
Look, why does anyone use wire hangers anymore? Joan was right.
Becca just said this is the homekeeping part of the show. When you put the clips together next year for the best moments of the show, I want Mike saying, "Do you use fabric softener?" to be one of his clips.
Done.
I just discovered fabric softener, and I kind of love it, but
this feels like very good content that's working its way, and you just kind of come up with the bottle. The snuggle bear comes up behind you.
Okay. So Steve wants to talk about Steve Perry playing the grocery store clerk in Criminally Insane.
Yeah. I thank you. I didn't know who he reminded me of, and that's totally what it was. He reminded me of Steve Perry.
I love the Criminally Insane. I love low budget movies where it all takes place in one location and people just show up to get killed. Like, oh, my car broke down outside or something. And in this one, he just comes walking around the corner with a big box of groceries from the store. And it's like in that tradition of like showing groceries by showing celery poking out of the top of the box or whatever.
It was in a big Cool's box too.
Yeah, and he just shows up, and it's supposed to, I mean, I know that they owed back bills for stuff they had ordered before, but I'm like, really, $80 for that box? And he was about to leave. She really had no reason to kill him because he was going to leave the box and take off.
Yeah, I mean that's all she had to do was, and then she was like, "Oh, he might tell someone." Crash.
Yeah,
she had bad impulse control.
I know, and I don't know how she was able to drag. She dragged his body upstairs or something before she came back downstairs and opened the door for her sister.
I watched another movie today where someone dragged a body. It was car.
One wire hanger is acceptable because sometimes you need it to open the car door. Anyway, go ahead, Sam.
That car wore kind of American Giallo that she did for it's really bad poison, and she just kills someone in the shower and throws her over her shoulder and just walks around with her. I'm like, no, people are heavy. I know Kari War is special, but not that special.
When we mentioned the wire hanger, it reminded me of something funny that happened to me once. I had a friend, and it was Ryan, Steve, or it was Ryan Clark.
Not
Ryan Steve.
Clark. Ryan Clark. Point Park Ryan Clark.
Point Park Ryan Clark. Yeah, he worked for the Weston William Penn at one point, and the Rolling Stones were staying there, and he tried to get me a souvenir from each one of their hotel rooms. He didn't get me anything from Mick's room, but he got me Ron Wood's hotel key, his card key, and I still have that somewhere. And he brought me a bottle of wine, an unopened bottle of wine from Keith Richards' room, and also a wire hanger from Keith's room. And it was one of those that's covered in paper, I guess for sanitary reasons.
Yeah.
You think, oh, it's sanitary, it has a piece of paper on it. So
the kind that you get from a dry cleaner.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if it was from Faye Dunaway's room, and it was a covered wire hanger, and then you got her to autograph it, she would yell at her.
It had a piece of paper wrapped around it. So, and I don't actually have any wire hangers. It was the only wire hanger I had. And then there was one night I was driving home and my muffler fell off, and I was like, fuck, I had to hang up the muffler with something, and I was like, oh, I'm rooting around in my closet and there's a wire hanger, and I ripped it off and bent it up, and I used it to tie up my muffler. And then later on I thought about it. I'm like, that was Keith's wire hanger I used. I blew my souvenir.
Love is strong.
Yeah, and then our son drank my bottle of wine from Keith Richards.
Not as not as bad as that, but my grandfather for years had a bottle of Mac beer from Germany. And it was like, because his last name was Mac. And he would bring it out at parties and be like, look, they made this beer for me. And he kept it in the fridge for like 30 years, right? My aunt was dating someone who drank a lot. And he ran out of beer. And he came into the room drinking my grandfather's beer that he had kept in the fridge for 30 years. And he said, Stan, this beer tastes like shit. My grandfather just looked at me and he was like, I didn't think things could get any worse in my life. And here it is. He just like, it was like just complete defeated. It was like nobody touched his fridge. Like, no, it was like one of those Archie Bunker, like, don't go in this room kind of things. And the guy just walked and drank his beer. So, oh, what a sad memory.
I house sat for somebody who told me I could have anything in the house that I wanted. And so I decided to eat this tube of ketchup flavored Pringles. And then when I got back, he goes, Todd Haynes brought that to me from Canada or something. And like, I was like, you said I could have anything. And he's like, well, I didn't expect you to eat the Pringles. And I'm like,
that's not fair.
Well, and they were one of those Jalo situations, like, you can go anywhere, but not this one room. And you're like, right. I had to go to that room.
Yeah.
It was filled with Todd Haynes Pringles.
Right. Well, and they were from Canada. I mean, we live, 4 miles away from the Canadian border. It's not exactly like, it was from, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon or something like.
Oh, and before we go on, we have to mention that George Buck Flower was in this movie, looking completely different than you've ever seen George Buck Flower look.
Clean shaven.
Yes. Like a totally different person.
We have Pringles in the USA. We just don't have ketchup flavored Pringles. Ketchup flavored Pringles and dill pickle flavored Pringles are Canadian only.
I don't understand that.
Oh no, someone got flagged by Facebook for commenting on our wire hangers thing.
What'd they say?
Oh, Dustin.
Because he said wire hangers work better for beating your kids.
Yeah. Facebook bots, you have to learn how to identify sarcasm.
When Elon Musk buys our show, this will never happen.
I feel like that's really irresponsible of Facebook, because nothing would set an abusive parent off more than being flagged by Facebook. It's like when Facebook is like, if you make because I had a friend who was joking around and he was like, oh man, I'm just going to kill myself. And they flagged him and took away his profile. I'm like, yeah, nothing makes a suicidal person feel better than alienating them from everyone online that they're supposed to be friends with. Like Facebook could have pushed him over the edge. Like, if you threaten suicide, we're going to make sure you do it. What was their end game with that one?
Our second feature of the evening is I, Madman from 1989. I've already got an ad up on the screen, so I can show this before we go any longer. We're already at the 50-minute mark. We haven't done the drink. We haven't looked at ads. This is really the only ad campaign that we have for I, Madman. I could have shown you some video boxes, but pretty much this is what you got. It's very... this movie slipped under my radar when it first came out in the late 80s. And I was really sad when I finally caught up to it. I was like, this movie is really good. And I don't know why I never saw it in a theater, and I don't know what took me so long.
It's the same director as The Gate.
Right.
Tibor
Tekex. I looked up how to say it. I think I got it right. Tekex.
I would say that you got it right more than me. That's what I'm thinking.
So what's that video? What's that distributor down there? That logo? Do you see it?
Oh,
is it World Video?
It looks like it.
Yeah, World Video put out the Criminally Insane VHS. So there's a connection between these two movies.
Oh wow, that's amazing!
You won the secret word.
Now there's satanic backwards messages in our broadcasts too. So if you can, I'm sorry, that's the Trans World Entertainment logo.
I think they are the one. Are they not the ones who put out the Criminally Insane? Because I know they also put out like Return to Eden and a bunch of other things, and they were always in that same clamshell.
Oh, Vince and everybody else said it in the chat too. I actually cropped that and zoomed in on my computer. I wasn't looking at the chat. Yeah, it was Trans World. But yeah, I mean, this was sort of a hidden gem. This is a hidden gem in my opinion, because a lot of people never even talk about this movie, and it's way better than you think. That's my soapbox event of the evening.
I love it, and I'm glad that we're showing it. It's a very strange and wonderful movie. I'm going to make a drink.
Yeah, I hope you have a beverage for us because I've got all the stuff for both of your drinks tonight.
Oh, great! This is Jamaica Me Madman. What an easy name! It made Becca laugh, and that's all. That's really how I judge my life.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yes, laughing wife. My new thing is, and I'm gonna make a video for you guys, is me just acting out the Law and Order song as like a studio musician and playing all the instruments. Look for that on YouTube sooner or later. We're going to start with half an ounce of the Kraken or any dark rum, but I prefer Kraken.
I prefer Kraken too. And you made me buy new rum tonight.
The hurricane proof.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
I used to be rum free. I never used to drink rum, and now I like it thanks to you. Thanks, Sam.
Ooh,
How much Kraken?
Half an ounce.
Okay, half an ounce. An ounce is okay, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh boy. Half an ounce of the hurricane proof.
I'm going to do a bar rescue pour.
Yeah.
Where I don't use a shot glass.
Then you yell at me.
This is your legacy.
A quarter ounce of the blue curacao. Now I have to get the pina colada in the fridge.
Oh, I am cracking open a brand new bottle of balls, baby.
Oh, balls it up.
We balled and we balled and we balled.
It's like that the Pink Angels trailer. Why are you going to San Francisco? The ball, baby. Way better trailer than a movie, by the way. The movie's not good. The 2 ounces of the pina colada mix.
I could only find a giant jug of this pina colada mix, so I condensed it down into this little container, which I think came from a Monsterama event. This is yours.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of pineapple juice. And we're going to do 2 ounces of orange juice. And then finally, we're going to do an ounce of lime juice. A lot of juices.
For a reason.
This one's got it all, true believers. As Stanley would say. All right. Let me know when you're ready and we'll shake it up.
I'm ready, Freddie.
All right.
Wow. That's like aerobicizing what you're doing.
Yeah. Get into it. All right. Here we go. Oh.
Where's the little umbrella?
I forgot my umbrella. What can I say?
Steve Martin and the Jerk would be so disgraced.
Where's my umbrella?
Nathan Johnson.
There are snails on her plate.
What are you drinking, Mike?
Me? Oh, I'm still just drinking this pineapple IPA.
Right, so get it out because it's cheers time.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. Sam, where are you?
I'm right here.
Pazuzu's Reagan is the only Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Call me by my dream name.
Come, fly the teeth of the wind, share my wings.
Pazuzu was all, they got him all wrong. You know,
I am Pazuzu.
Pazuzu had a vision, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody.
So I showed an ex of mine Exorcist 2, and we watched Exorcist 2 a couple of times, and then he saw Exorcist, the original Exorcist, for the first time after that, and he goes, wow, The Exorcist is a really good movie, and it's so serious and so well done. And I was like, That must be so weird to see The Exorcist 2 first, and then it's like watching The Howling 2 first, and then you watch The Howling, and you're like, wow, the original was actually like a really good movie.
The first Howling doesn't have the same boob shot 12 times in a row.
No, it does not. It doesn't have the boobs. Yeah.
Poor Sybil Danning. She didn't sign on for that.
I know, but like how upset
you were at a party with her, like, hey, I really like The Howling too, and she'd be like, I don't want to talk to you.
So
Mike knows her.
I met her at a party. She was on this sitcom, or not sitcom. She was on this TV show that Fred Olen Ray made, this gay vampire softcore porn TV show called The Lair. And she joined the cast in the 3rd season as like the vampire mistress or whatever. And so I went to like their rap party, which was shot at like the Eagles Lodge in Van Nuys, where they had filmed scenes from Salem's Lot. And I met her and I was like, I really love The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. And she's like, oh, wow. People are talking about that all of a sudden. And she was actually really interesting because she kept like throughout the rest of the party, she was actually very friendly, and she'd like look for you and then come over and talk to you again. And I was like, not used to like famous people doing that, like actually thinking that like you guys are friends at this party. Like she wasn't, I liked her. Sybil Danning's cool.
Oh, wow. Like, I really liked you in Panther Squad. She's like, I don't ever want to talk to you again.
We talked about The Howling too, and the ripping the boobs thing, and she goes, "Well, if they would have told me, they just didn't tell me." And I went to the screening, and then they had cut it like that. And I said, I told her about how on USA Network they had they made a TV safe version where she was just opening her cape, and she goes, "Oh, I would have liked that so much better."
That's a hell of a stunt to pull on an actress, you know.
Yeah, it's like,
Even if
imagine if you were there at the premiere and you're like, here comes my scene. And that's it.
Because that sort of reduces it. You know, at least in the film, there's like a wink, wink. At least in The Howling, there were a lot of winks.
Yeah.
And Howling 2, sorry.
Howling 2 had that weird like through the looking glass effect that the demon had for me, where 75% of the scenes in The Howling 2 that are supposed to take place in LA are actually filmed in Romania or wherever that they shot the rest of the movie. Like the church where they're having the funeral and stuff. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not LA. LA doesn't have mist in the cemetery like that.
It's like Edge of the Axe. Like when we're outside, we're in California. We're inside, we're in Spain.
Joe Bob Briggs showed The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane last night, and he said that they shot it in the house where it's set. And when I was watching the movie, I was looking at it, and I was like, I think this is a set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think, because the house is so big from the outside, and from the inside, it's just these little square rooms that are freshly wallpapered and freshly put together. It looks like a production designed soundstage. It doesn't look like
I got upset watching it when someone's like, it's just so talky and it feels like a play. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I like it. Like,
there was
I have that Babel song in a playlist, Vince, and I hear it in my car like every other day. I am jamming out to Howling.
There's 2. They have that one, and then they have Lover's Sacrifice, which I love. It's a good song too. It doesn't have the howling like sound effects in it though.
So I Madman. Let's talk about that a little bit.
It's based on a book.
Yeah. Sam, you are bonkers for this movie. I read your review on BNS About Movies.
Uh-huh.
And so why do you love it so much? Tell us about it.
Because it's just like fantastic. It's got like the idea that this world that lives within a book can come out into our world and damage our world. The last shot in it's really great. That really gets across the continuity between the book and like there's just like it just doesn't feel like a lot of other. As Mike said, is this kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing we were talking about? It doesn't feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street cash-in as much as other Nightmare on Elm Street cash-ins that happened at the time, and it just has like a different sensibility, maybe because the director is not from America, that he was going for a more art movie, that it's based on a more arty novel. And I just love it, and it kind of fell between the cracks. It's written by the same guy, David Chaskin, who wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and The Curse, which had Lucio Fulci, was the special effects guy and a producer on. But yeah, and it doesn't have a body count, so it's like not a slasher. It's kind of got like too much dream logic to really be like. It's not like a horror movie that came out in the '80s where people were like, "Ah, it was cool. That guy said funny stuff," and you know what I mean. Like I think the wave was moving towards the Nightmare 3, 4, 5, like kind of Freddy becoming the hero, and this really isn't that kind of movie.
There's a body count in this movie.
But it's not like super huge though. Like it's not like a slasher, you know, name one. And I like the idea, and it kind of goes back to like my love of Jess Franco Bad Guys, but that the killer is like killing people to get pieces of their face to improve his face.
He's like stealing things off of their bodies to sew onto his face.
Yeah,
like
and that's what's his name? Randall William Cook, who's a special effects guy that did a ton of movies, starting with Laser Blast, and he's worked on still works on Peter Jackson's movies now. But he's the special effects guy. He is Malcolm Brand, who is the I Madman, as well as the deformed Dr. Kessler, what's in the story within the story. So it's kind of cool.
Right, yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
The movie's about a book coming to life. It's a female protagonist who's reading a book, and the things that happen in the book start happening to her in real life. And there's this fictitious character named Dr. Kessler who starts manifesting in her life. And like Dr. Kessler's intent is to he wants her to love him.
Yeah.
And he sews pieces of other people's faces onto his own and takes their physical characteristics. It's gruesome, but it's very much in a comic book way.
Yeah, and it's Jenny Wright from Near Dark is the heroine in this.
Yeah.
What's the other movie with a Dr. Kessler? I feel like Dr. Kessler's been used before.
I don't know.
Oh.
The other thing that's interesting is there's a piano player in this, Bruce Wagner, and he was married to Rebecca De Mornay, but he did a ton of other stuff. He wrote Maps to the Stars, the book that Cronenberg based his movie on, and he also wrote the graphic novel Wild Palms that David Lynch took and turned into a series. He worked with Tracy Ullman on her show State of the Union, wrote Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, and he wrote scenes from the class struggles in Beverly Hills. So these are like, it's kind of weird. It's like this is more, goes back into this is more of an art kind of take on these movies. It's kind of strange. Also, after he interviewed Carlos Castenda in 1994, he actually became one of his inner circle, and he changed his name to Lorenzo Drake, and now he's a shaman. So not really doing Hollywood stuff anymore. But he's the piano player in this.
Okay, so Martin Kessler, George C. Scott played a character named Dr. Kessler in the movie Malice, with Alec Baldwin.
And John said that the VHS cover to this looks like a slasher. It does. And I remember when this was out in my video store in my teen years, people said, "Yeah, I got that, and it's not good because like there's not as much people getting killed or anything."
Did Mike disappear? There he is. He's back.
Yeah, so I Madman is one of those movies. When I was going to the video store, I always saw I Madman, and I feel like I had friends who rented it. I was always I would just find one movie and just watch it over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't go, like, there are so many movies that I ignored at the video store because I was like, well, why get that? I can just watch Sleepaway Camp for the 20th time, or Friday the 13th 4 or something. Like, there were just certain movies that I would just watch like all the time, and I never got around to watching. I never have seen From Beyond. I didn't see Reanimator. Actually, I've never seen Reanimator. I saw Reanimator 2. Like, there's certain movies that everybody has seen that I just skipped because I was like, I'm just going to watch Demons. I'm just going to watch Creepers again. Why would I watch Reanimator? So this is going to be good.
I really think you're going to like this because this is one of those, like I said, you don't expect it to be as good as it is. And you're like, why don't more people talk about this? At least that's how I feel about it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. This was when I first met Mark. He showed me this movie, and we've been together 19 years. So I think that's about as long as it's been since I've watched this.
I Madman. That was the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And I remember it was one of those ones where pre-VCR, where it was like, oh, I got to stay up till 2:10 a.m. to see this. But you know what? Sometimes, like we've talked about before, sometimes staying up late to watch a movie makes a movie better.
Absolutely.
Well, you get to see all those shitty low budget commercials that can't afford better airtime, like the local commercials. There was one in San Francisco that was for a battered women's shelter, but they got this like obviously gay man to play like the abusive husband. So he's like, I used to beat my wife, but then I got help. And like, it's like, really? Did you realize you were gay and get divorced? Is that how it happened? Like,
Those were the days. Like, is there even an equivalent to that now?
yeah, when you're watching like shitty streaming services like the free horror movie channel or like Subplex, SubTubi, and they have ads on there, those ads are like cheap, crappy, or like the kind of ads like if you're watching YouTube and an ad will pop up, like those are sort of like those bad local ads from the 80s and stuff.
So
that would
what's
play
CBS on in the mornings? The morning news. There's a lot of local ads. Like there's Wayne the Train, the Pittsburgh's best sleep dentist. You just go to his office and go to sleep. And his tagline is, he's the best, the most searched dentist on Google in Pittsburgh. That doesn't say you're a good dentist.
It just says that you can't remember. Like if you're scared of the dentist or whatever, he doesn't need a good bedside manner or a way of making you be unscared. He just puts you to sleep.
Yeah, and he's a gigantic guy. And he's like, I used to play football at Pitt. Okay. Like, but you're gonna put your hands in my mouth now. And he's like, it doesn't. None of his selling points work. Why? Wait, someone named the Train is not somebody I'm gonna let put their hands in my mouth. Sorry, guys.
On that note, we should probably get to the second feature of the evening, I Madman, and we'll talk some more about it after we've had the chance to take this in and absorb all that is Dr. Kessler and his murderous exploits. We hope you're not too squeamish, because this one is gory. And watch it on Tubi. Come back after the movie. We'll talk some more about it on the Drive-In Asylum double feature.